Hey, welcome. It is like part two of a discussion that we had the other day, Landon, it seems. But even without being part two, it is a momentous historical day today, something that has never happened in the history of the United States. I believe that a sitting president has now been officially impeached twice.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, time zone, latitude, and status judgment of the president. Um, House Representatives together by Article 1, Clause 5 says they'll have the sole power of it. And second time, a president has been second time. Remember, impeachment is the indictment. Ability of the person that, but it does put pardons.
All right, I'm just setting this up because we have a latecomer to the program who gave link out ages ago, but decided to show up. One second.
Hi, kids.
By
How's
the
it
Thank you
going?
for showing up on time.
Yes, yes. It's
Thank
always
you.
we always appreciate that. So Heather, do you remember? I think you've been in with Landon before, if I'm not
I have.
mistaken.
Hi, good to see you.
Awesome. Good, good.
Thanks for having me, guys.
So let me get you fixed here, and Landon can continue with explaining to people what actually it entails when a sitting president gets impeached, and why this is significant that a president has now been officially impeached twice.
And again, I think part of the thing is that we've had other presidents,
Clinton and Johnson.
Bill
I
Clinton.
knew that. Yay.
Um, Nixon was about to be impeached. Trump was again. Let me fix. Or they're saying that my volume is low, so
I can. I will try to adjust it on mine a little bit too.
I will testing. How
You're
is that
maxed.
going?
You're good on my end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So people are saying. All right. But back to the second. So the again, impeachment does not mean the president's really mean House Representatives warrant.
Specifically, specifically the impeachment is that there have been formal charges brought about in the House to go to the Senate. Go ahead.
Okay, go
A
ahead.
couple super chats real quick. Kawasa, well, Trump got what he wished for. He'll never be forgotten. So long as history books exist, he's the world's number one in getting impeached. I mean, yeah, what is a fun fact that he has been now officially impeached more than all other presidents, equally as all other presidents combined. And then we got Josiah Hansen for $2. My feathers are fluffing today in celebration.
So and the article House Resolution recently stated recall that Donald J. Trump high crimes and following article of impeachment exhibited to the United States Senate. Remember again, like a grand jury is fighting to file charges. That does not mean you're guilty. You will then be arraigned. And this is not a judicial court. This is a legislative court. In fact, Senate. So that's why they say the resolution says that the following article of impeachment be exhibited to the Senate. Arguably, the House representative of the people, Donald Court of High Crimes and Misdemeanors. Article 1. Very simple language said impeachment of insurrection. The Constitution provides the House of Representatives shall have the power, full power of impeachment. That's when you go to Article 1, Section 2, Clause 5, that's the phrase, shall have, shall the full power of impeachment, and that impeachment president shall be removed from office for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other crimes, high crimes. That phrase, high crimes of misdiscretion, as everything from the gravest of crimes, also say you're only impeached for really bad things. But again, it's as conviction of treason, bribery, or other crimes, and it had to be all of them. It's mean essentially virtually any conduct of office of president, violation, both of the execute faithfully, office of president, yes, as a burden to protect and defend states in violation of constitutional duty to take care of laws faithfully executed. Donald J. Trump, by willfully inciting violence against. In that, February 6th, 2021, the 12th Amendment, Vice President of the House get together in the state capitol, joint session, count the vote. Shortly before the joint session, Donald J. Trump addressed the crowd. There, iterated false claims. Won this election, we won by a landslide. He also willfully made foreseeably resulted in imminent lawless action, capital, cited by President of awfully capital law enforcement, session, engaged in acts.
All right, let me. You're cutting out a little bit. Let me see if I can fix that on my end because I think your connection is not the greatest. But I'm going to try to fix that on my end by changing your noise gate here. So give me a second, people.
Was it with me, or you were able to? I mean, it's not easy to.
There we go.
Not much more than that.
Yeah, and I think they got the gist of it. But I've adjusted your noise gate, so that should because you are kind of quiet, and I think it's your mic. But anyways, let's quick. Heather, did you want to weigh in on that real quick? Here.
We're trying to read the rest of the article. There's only one more page.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yep. On there. So he said that monthly interfered with the joint session of the solemn constitutionally to verify the election results and engaged in violent, deadly, destructive, seditious acts. President Trump's conduct on January 6, 2021 was consistent with his prior efforts to subvert and obstruct the certification results of the 2020 presidential election. Those prior results include, but are not limited to, a phone call placed on January 2nd, 2021, which the President Trump urged the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Ressinger, to find enough votes to overturn the Georgia presidential election results and threatened Mr. Ressinger if he failed to do so. In all this, President Trump gravely endangered the security of the United States, its institutions of government. He threatened the integrity of the democratic system, interfered with peaceable transfer of power, and imperiled a coordinate, co-branch of the government. He therefore betrayed his trust in his president of the United States and manifest injury to the United States. Wherefore, President Trump, by such conduct, has demonstrated that he will remain a threat to national security, democracy, and the Constitution if allowed to remain in office, and has acted in a manner grossly incompatible with self-governance and the rule of law. President Trump thus warrants impeachment and trial and removal from office and disqualification to hold or enjoy any office, honor, or trust or profit under the United States.
And that's a separate thing altogether, though. If in order for them to vote that he can no longer hold a federal office, that only takes a simple majority of the Senate, which I think clearly they would have if they get 2/3 in the Senate to convict. And that's what it would take. And I was going over the numbers earlier, and I talked to you about it. There's 48 House Democrats, and there's 2 independents that usually vote with Democrats, so that's 50. They would need then 17 to have a 2/3 majority vote, which is 2/3 of 100 is 67. So that's how that would work. So if they got anywhere near that, they would have a simple majority. And as of right now, from what I understand, there are 10 Republicans in the Senate that have pledged to vote for conviction in the Senate.
Yes. Now, one of the things as well that's happening, and bring is the clause 3 of the 14th Amendment, and it says no person shall be a senator, representative of Congress, or elected president or vice president, or holding office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state having, I said having engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, and given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Now, it says, but Congress may, by 2/3 vote, be able to remove such disability. So what they're saying is that anyone who has engaged in insurrection or rebellion or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof, right? So it doesn't mean that Trump has to be someone who actually engaged in insurrection and rebellion, but given aid and comfort is sufficient to disqualify him from holding elected office at federal or state. And that a 2/3 vote of both houses could remove that restriction. That is possible. Even if he leaves office, he could be found criminally charged with that. Not just in the
matter of fact,
under
Washington, who was it? The Washington District Attorney over there. I don't remember his name, but he's thinking about filing actual criminal charges. Yes.
Yeah. So understand that text. I mean, the text basically of that resolution. You heard it there. Doesn't take long to read. Essentially says Congress has the power to do that in the regular House of Representatives, and that he said that Trump engaged in this. That they list both his incitement of the crowd on January 6th, but they also talk about his ability, his attempts to try and get the Georgia Secretary of State to find enough votes to overturn. So really, in that article, they're talking about his insurrection and his interference with the election. I mean, the big thrust is over interference with the election process, and they're citing his attempt to try to get the threatening Georgia Secretary of State to do things, and they're talking about his incitement for a riot on the 6th to interfere with the counting.
Correct.
So it is one article, but the article lists
multiple different things. Yes.
Right? And it says, but not limited to.
Mm-hmm.
That allows.
Well, I think they're giving the article, and then they're giving evidence to justify that claim.
Yes, yeah. But they're saying that this evidence is not complete.
Right. Well, clearly.
and so what will happen? The formal process is that so Congress voted to the House President voted to impeach, so he's been impeached. And they will then designate a delegation who will go walk from the House across the rotunda to the Senate doors, request admission, and they will present to the Senate this article of impeachment. In fact, that's what it says. At the very, very beginning, it says the following article of impeachment will be exhibited to the Senate, the United States Senate. They will then be essentially the if you will, the prosecutors who will, during the Senate trial, be arguing the House case. So the House has listed essentially the indictment, which is centered around interfering with the election, and given a couple of examples, but said the House members are going to go over and give you more detail. And believe me, there's going to be some more interesting details that'll come out during the Senate. They won't, like last time, have something where McConnell said, we don't want to hear any witnesses. This time,
no, Mitch McConnell was for this. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not only for it, but the Democrats will be in control of the Senate and set the rules for the trial, including bringing evidence forward.
All right. So before I turn over to Heather real quick, again, this is hard to predict, but do you think that it will be the first time in history that the Senate has actually convicted on an impeachment?
Go ahead.
It's possible. I think it's very possible, but please go ahead, Desmond.
I don't know. That's why it's so fascinating to watch this, because it's never happened. I've watched so many of these legal experts on CNN just go, I don't know. We don't know what's going to happen. That's what makes it so fascinating. But and thank you for explaining that, because you guys are far better versed in this stuff than I am. But
he is. I just go along for the ride. I'm just here for the hair and to show my stuff. Look, agree to argue. That's all I'm here for.
For going further, I wanted to lay out the information, so please go ahead and
no,
give your
I appreciate it, because it's it's complicated stuff, and it's nice to hear an explanation in layman's terms. But I do find that people ask the same questions. Okay, so he's been impeached twice. He has not been convicted yet, and we are going to see that unfold in the next coming days, even when he's out of office. Correct?
Yeah. So the way I understand it, and Landon can correct me if I'm wrong, there is I mean, it is at least possible that it could be actually held in one day. The Senate could actually hold it in one day before Biden takes over. It would take 100 senators, all of them, to say, okay, we want the trial before the 20th. But that's obviously not going to happen. But in theory, it could have all of them. It takes unanimous.
In theory, it can.
Yeah.
The Senate set a schedule, and the 19th is the last day that they will meet before inauguration.
Right.
And in particular, the 19th is reserved for what's called midnight appointments. Midnight actually is a conclusion of midnight appointments. It actually, midnight refers to the time period between the general election and the inauguration. This is the last time, on the 19th, is when the Senate meets next. It's the last time that it'll be under that McConnell's control will be there until there's a few days.
So what is
And that during that time they're going to do a very important things. They're going to approve as many judges as they can.
Okay.
At the low level,
at a district level,
certifications, and district level, and that. Because there's no Supreme Court vacancy.
Right.
And they're going to do a number of things for findings on various things about, whether certain countries have violated treaties and triggering stuff. The sort of advice and consent that the Senate can do on its own. And there's a bunch of things. Besides, they'll do proclamations for National Tulip Day and stuff like that. But the main thing is going to be trying to have the maximum Republican impact on things like the judiciary and on international treaty statuses before they lose control of the Senate.
All right. I'm kicking my mic down a little bit and boosting you guys up so it can be equalized a little bit more, and then people on the outside can go from there. But let me ask you, since this probably obviously won't go to the Senate even before Trump leaves office on the 20th, they have, I think, 100 days to file or something, 100 days to send to the Senate, something around those lines. What is the benefit of them waiting a significant amount of time, a month or two from now, to go to the Senate? And what is the benefit of having him convicted in the Senate after he's already left, besides not being able to run for federal office again?
I mean, well, the federal office is one item. His impugning his ability to his pension,
the $200,000 a year, right?
Yeah, he loses all his benefits. He does lose all his benefits, right?
Yeah.
But he also loses the lifetime of Secret Service, and apparently they also get $1 million a year toward their travel allowance. So that'll be gone too.
Well, here's the thing: we haven't just, the whole thing about the Secret Service seems to be up in the air a little bit. Some experts say that he would lose his Secret Service, and then I've read some experts say that he can't lose that because of the I think it was the Obama Secret Service Act of 2013, saying that any former sitting president, regardless of being convicted for high crimes and misdemeanors, would still have Secret Service protection. So they don't know which one I think to go by.
And also, Biden has indicated that he would certainly authorize.
And I don't see removing his Secret Service. I don't think that's beneficial to anybody. I think that he did. It is a perk. Don't get me wrong, but it's also a necessity for safety considerations. And I certainly don't want any harm to come to Trump by some radical individual. And I think that I think it sets a bad precedence if they remove the Secret Service.
Chelsea Clinton was the only one who said, "I don't want it."
Right. Yeah, an individual can do it. Right. He can actually say, "I don't want it." Yeah, it can be.
But the biggest. Yeah. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say that it can be given up voluntarily. Yeah.
It can be given up voluntarily, and she's like the only one that's done it. But I think the biggest reason that the Democrats are pushing this, as you guys would agree, I'm sure, is that he can't run again. And Nancy Pelosi is a bad bitch, and I am proud.
I think that's part of it. I do definitely think that that's a significant part. The Democrats,
right.
and I think another reason, and Landon, please let me know your opinion on this as well. I think a big reason is that you have 10 Republicans that are on board with this is that they don't want Trump in the GOP. They have their own political aspirations. All of them do, and they don't want him in the sights in 2044 or anywhere
The
else.
Republican Party
Yeah.
doesn't want to
So
be
Steve,
associated with them.
you know,
Right.
You know?
Right.
you raise a really good point as to why it would be in best interest of a number of Republicans to vote to convict.
Mhm.
Um, the the There are a number of Republicans that want their chance in the spotlight, national spotlight. That's not just running for political action committee endorsements, number of things like that that they really want to have their say. President Trump, having been elected on 2016, sort of took that mantle over. And when he ran for re-election in 2020, a number of those, basically everyone said, hey, I have to wait 8 years because he'll want to run for president in 2020. And therefore 2024 is my time in the spotlight. Trump did not do himself a favor. And the favor he did was, I'm going to run in 2024.
I agree.
And a whole bunch of people, including people like Senator Cruz,
They're like,
said,
wait, no. I think that was a bad strategic move, but his ego, it all goes back to his ego.
It always does.
Because
Yes.
the important thing to say is, well, I want the best for the party in 2024.
But he's not a team player. He's a Trump player.
That's the thing. And that's why the Republicans that did vote are trying to, I think, separate themselves and be part of the Republican Party and not part of the Trump Party. I mean, it's so
Exactly.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You know?
So let me ask you, Heather, do you think that I say it's hard to actually get in the mind of somebody, but it's a little bit easier in the mind of somebody that you understand their psychology, like a true narcissist. And do you think, because I don't think he ever had any political aspirations to begin with, but I think that his ego got to him. And I don't think he expected to really win in the first place. But of course, he expected to win because he's Trump, right? Because he thinks that he's a winner and everything. But I don't think he really wanted to run in 2024 as a whole. I think that maybe his ego maybe drive him to, or his ego drove him to say that he's going to run for 2024. But why would he want to? I mean, like, what other than egotism, why would he want to run for 2024?
I think it's mostly ego, but I have a theory about a lot of these rich kids, and I in Southern California, they're a dime a dozen. You know, I've seen all of these uber wealthy people who really don't have to work for anything their entire life. When you have the celebrity, the money, and the status, you're bored. I mean, what else is there to take over? It's power, and
You look
that's
for other
why-
ways to get
Yeah,
more,
to
right?
get
You've
off.
got to,
Yeah, exactly.
you're not fighting for existence, so you
And
then turn to other ways to
But-
try and.
Right, exactly. But here's a question that I think is really important: is if he wanted to run, I mean, he didn't. I don't think he ever planned to run either, but he didn't plan on winning. So what confuses me is if he didn't think he was going to win, why would he even attempt it? Because he doesn't want to be a loser or whatever. You know, he does.
Because he's black and white, right? If you're not a winner,
Yeah.
you are a loser. There's no middle ground to be had. They're kind of like a
Exactly.
lacktheist, right? They're like the new atheist out there. You're either an atheist or you're not, or a theist or
I
you're
know.
not. Yeah, or you're a theist
Yeah,
or
there's
you're
gray.
exactly.
Yeah.
There's no gray between theist and atheist, according to them.
Right.
But he's the same way. But he doesn't realize that there is a middle ground between winner and loser. I mean, to him, the second place person is the first loser. That's all, because there's going to be one winner. So in his mind's eye, he has a dichotomy. It is true that either you won or you didn't win, but just because you didn't win doesn't necessarily make you a loser. The way we understand the term loser, right? So if you didn't win, according to him, that's how he ran The Apprentice, though, right?
That's how he ran The Apprentice. And if you guys surely heard what his mother said about him far before he ran, which is really goes to the psychology and what you're talking about. She said, "Oh my God, something to the effect of, if my son ever ran, it would be, the end of something like that."
Yeah, he's been told all his life how great he is. He's like the
mother
poster
knows
child
her
for.
child,
Yeah, he's the poster child for participation award.
Yeah, right.
So I think it's because Trump has this very binary view of the world.
Yep.
You're good or you're bad.
Right.
There's nothing
Right.
in between there. So that's part of his process. You're a winner or you're a loser, right?
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
So back to the notion of one of the things that the Democrats are counting on, I think, is that there will be enough Republicans who want their chance in the national spotlight in 2022, 2024
Yeah.
to knock Trump out. Remember, Trump raised nearly $1/3 of $1 billion from the general election
Unreal.
to now. That's money
It's a lot of
that
money.
is not going to Senate campaigns, congressional elections, and other political
Oh,
processes.
so you're saying it took money
And
from other Republicans because there's only so much pool? What?
and
Okay.
I won't say I won't name, but someone
Shocker.
said a Republican who's trying to raise money has said he's tapping the normal list of donors, and they say, I've already tapped out, I've already donated.
Yeah, give Trump. Yeah, exactly. Well, okay. Here's the reality. There's only so much of the pie. That's something we as YouTubers even have to understand, right? I mean, people watch a lot of stuff. They donate to what they want to donate to, and we all have to understand that. There's nothing wrong with that. But we do realize there's only a limited amount of people, and so you do your best. You hope to to get a portion of that because that's what I live on. But I'm certainly I have no animosity when somebody else gets donated to do right. But I think Trump does. I think his ego won't allow him to consider that, and so it's all about him. And so when these donors gave him all this money, all these other Republicans who have their own aspirations and things like that wait a minute here. You took it all, and now that we need some, he wants to run again.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And so people like Senator Cruz that was pushing the narrative and stuff. Many people think he was posturing to become one of the prime leaders of a certain critical thought movement.
Yeah.
Would love to see Trump knocked out, especially by having a trial after he's left office. The Republicans won't be quote removing a sitting president. They'll essentially be preventing him from
which is understandable. Hey, look, it's all
their audition. Yeah.
Well, all their I guess you could say all the motivations align, right?
Yes.
The Democrats, Republicans.
They may vote to convict not based on the evidence, but based on political expediency. And in fact, it'd be very likely that the Republicans will meet in caucus and they'll say, okay, who's the 17 senators that will go to convict at least?
And they only need, I mean, from what, if they did like you did a straw poll right now, it seems like they only need 7 more.
Yes.
Okay, so that's not a lot.
That's 7 who haven't been pissed enough to make a formal declaration.
Right. But they don't know, right? There's been 10 Republicans that already have, which is significant because before, when his first impeachment, there was 0 Republicans that voted on for it. But here we have 10, which means that there is a high probability that there might be many more that just, as you said, have not declared yet, and they have no obligation to. But can you imagine, though, if you are one of those senators, if you're a Republican senator, you have to make a very divisive choice. Either A, you vote along party lines, which people are going to complain about, because again, I don't think people should vote strictly on party lines just because he's a Republican, even though he's a lame duck Republican and he's going out, he's on his way out, so it's not like there's a lot of power that he can give somebody or anything like that. Or you have to vote on, hey, if I get him out and he can't run again, and he's just neutered, because look, he's lost all his social media. He won't be able to run again for any federal office. He's effectively politically neutered. That will help them. So, like you said, they have their own political expediency.
I love that
right?
term.
Yeah, politically neutered. I just that. Did somebody think of that before? I don't know, probably, but
No, I think it's great. That's a good
Golden
one. Unicorn,
$20 New Zealand. Hey,
Yeah,
she says,
what a
"Love you,
sweetheart.
guys. Love. Will listen in later." Thank
By
you.
the way, class person.
Isn't she the
Yeah,
best?
she is.
She's one of the best.
Someone who gracefully lost a bet, and I think she was actually happy she lost too. But
I'm still waiting for my
Wait, what was
$20.
that? I don't know this.
I'm sorry.
I'm still waiting
Bet?
my 20 from Macabre. My bet.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I had a bet with Manya on that. This is about the fact that we were basically have a dollar bet based upon the certified electoral college difference between Biden and Trump,
Oh,
and that I predicted that Biden would get more votes. She predicted the opposite, and the winner pays a U.S. dollar to a charity of the winner loser pays $1 per vote. So
And your
like
charity
it.
was again?
Habitat for Humanity, and
Good
so
one.
she donated to Habitat for Humanity $74 US. And
Oh, that's
and
amazing. That's amazing.
so we did it. It was a bet where everyone wins.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
Yeah. Mine was
Exactly.
strictly for
Wow.
self-serving purposes against Macabre, only for bragging rights. It's not about the $20. It's bragging. And he knows this too. I mean, it's just bragging rights because he would be bragging, and I said, hey, go for it, man.
I am appreciative that she was a good sport and that a good charity won.
Well, she is one of the
Hello.
best. Hello, this is Landon. You've reached Landon Curt Noll. What is this? You have a mathematics problem dealing with prime numbers? Let me explain to you. Oh, sorry.
I
That
need
was
help with my
actually-
homework.
I just hung up on a member of Congress
You're lying.
Why would you do such a
not
thing?
lying. Because I didn't want that person to answer and their name because they probably want to talk to me privately.
Well, why don't you
You-
just go
you
off
your
air
mic
real
and
quick
do it.
and go take the call?
That's a good one. Do it.
I'll send a message over there. I tell you what.
No,
in-
you're not
in-
obligated. You know,
in-
Heather pulled this with me the other day,
I'm sorry.
a month
No,
ago, and
no,
I'm still
I
going to
know.
berate her for it because she kept apologizing, and I'm like, look, Heather, you got a call, take it. You don't need to
It was
apologize.
a call he wanted me to take.
Yeah, you
essentially,
have.
right?
Well, even if I didn't, I give you my permission.
that's-
You're not under any obligation to stick
was
around if you
very
got an important
rude.
phone
It was
call.
very rude.
I don't find it's not rude if I say it's not rude.
It was very rude of me.
Oh my
Mhm.
goodness, stop it! We're gonna have words.
I'll see you on Saturday and I'll smack your ass
Yeah.
around in front of you, right? In
Oh,
person.
yeah. So, fun fact: Heather's coming down to visit me on Saturday.
It's a whole 45 minutes away.
Yeah.
We're gonna
uh,
try and drink and laugh.
Heather and alcohol. What you know?
Okay, so I will at 10 minutes to the hour head out to make the call.
Yeah, that's fine. No problem, man. Yeah, and if it's something you can relate, that's fine. If not, we understand confidentiality. I'm going to be the self-proclaimed pope of agnosticism, which is the king of confidentiality.
Yes.
You
Well,
are.
Well,
That's
Steve,
true.
and I understand. And I have a little explanation also when the people were hearing, and I was acting like I was hearing voices in my head. I had a staff member in the Capitol who had called me and was letting their phone run to sort of a running commentary of what's happening. This person is somebody who they have no family, and their friends and family are people who work in the Capitol or their donors, and so they went down their their phone list, and I was the first name that popped up saying, here's somebody who is not someone here in the Capitol, who is not a donor, who will, and so they called up and said, hey, I just want to tell somebody what's going on, da, 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 da. And so I was getting running commentary of what was happening, and it was scary.
And I love the fact he's just so
Really?
cavalier. Like, yeah, I had a member of Congress call me, but I'll make it work.
I know it's no big deal.
Whatever. Pelosi called me the other day too, but I was too busy to take the call.
I would die. I would love it.
Godless Scummer, 5 pounds. Trying to catch up on what's going on. Do you guys think the vote will pass the Senate? I think there's a high probability this time.
I think there's a fair chance.
Don't know. I'm scared to
Yeah, you can never predict, but I mean, like I said, if they have 60 and they only need 67, okay, there's four, so there would be 40. So there's 50. There's 52 Republican senators, and so 10 of them have already committed. That leaves 42. They only need 7 of those 42.
Right. So I think it's possible.
Yeah, a lot of them might be going, hey, we want to distance ourselves with Trump. We don't want him to run again. Yeah, we're going to vote for this.
I mean, they have to. The Republican Party needs to separate themselves from Trump. It
Oh,
needs to
absolutely.
go back to,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? He's an animal, guys.
And the other thing is that a healthy democracy has a good, loyal opposition party to hold the party accountable. Right? When Biden becomes president and Kamala Harris becomes vice president, we need to hold them accountable. They don't get a free pass just because we didn't like
Absolutely.
that person they're running against. Right?
Right.
The same sort of thing, and that's one of the. And I'm not. This is a function of the opposition.
Mhm.
Of the loyal opposition, not the disloyal one that wants to subvert the Constitution, but we want a healthy, and so they're distancing themselves from Trump and that MAGA crowd is
Right.
I think important for our democracy to function well.
Brainy Beaver, 2 Canadian says that was Baked Alaska, not Pelosi. He called. Has he got arrested yet? Has Baked Alaska got arrested yet? If not, it's probably in the works. I don't know. There's been a lot of them have been arrested, but I don't know if Baked Alaska.
No.
He was there. Yes.
the last message I
Not the riots, by the way.
heard, I was reported that the FBI has 160
Right?
people under indictments, and they said, and the director of the FBI was saying, there's a lot more coming.
Yeah, 160. That's a lot. As a matter of fact, when this was live on January 6th, and Landon and I were talking about this, and by the way, we very rarely do it. Thank you. Yeah, it's very, it's not often we do a real time update kind of thing. And
Shocker.
yeah, we did well, I thought. But we were saying that yes, these people need to be prosecuted. Now, did I think they'd be prosecuted right away? No, I don't think they're going to. A lot of them probably weren't going to be arrested on the spot. Why? Because they've got video footage. They can find these people, right? And they're completely outnumbered. If so, my reasoning was this: if they only have a limited amount of police and they're busy arresting people when the riots are going on, that's going to prevent protecting who they're supposed to protect. So it probably was a good decision that they didn't start arresting people left and right on the spot. Because again, they have the videos; they will find these people.
And Twitter does a good job of doing that too. But did you guys see the National Guard sleeping? These are incredible pictures.
Yeah,
I mean,
we did.
So one thing that had happened is that the people who ran Parler really didn't understand metadata, right? And so you had people who were part of the insurrection going on Parler and posting images and uploading them. Well, a couple of things. It's one, they have a cell phone. They have a
GPS
location with the stuff based on cell phone signal strength, and the EXIF, what's called EXIF metadata. There's data about the image that was uploaded and non-anonymized, and before Parler was taken down, the archives that went through and scraped the whole thing.
Yep.
And
a hacker got that.
And they've done connection graphs and so forth that are, to talk about who's associated with whom, and as well as they have these, control these maps of, you could see an individual and where they walked, and around and so forth, and
technology, right?
Yeah. There's a specific. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm gonna look her up.
There was a member of Congress that they broke into her office and they carved their Twitter handles into her desk and then tweeted the images.
Yeah, these are not smart criminals.
It was
surprise.
Yeah, shocker, right? Trump fans, not the sharpest knife in the cutlery set.
No,
so NZ Pure asked a question. He says, "Got my tin hat on here, but do you think that Biden-Harris team is just a damn sly move to get a female president? Like a test run to get the hardliners to get used to it? Probably not." Now,
that is a theory, guys. That's a theory.
I know it's a theory, but I just don't think it's that viable of a theory.
Think it's speculation.
Yeah, it's speculation at most.
It's good they brought it up because that's a theory.
But if something happens to Biden, she would become the first female president in the next 4 years.
Biden has been spending 20 plus years trying to become president.
Yeah,
Biden wants to be president.
Oh, yeah.
Biden believes,
but he's also old.
He's the person who is best to become president. I mean, if you talk to him about why he started to run, he personally was dissatisfied with who was running, and so he threw his hat into the race so that he could win. Right?
Yeah, no,
there's no
I'm fine with that.
I'm going to become president and then step down to let the vice president.
Right. But there is a chance that something could happen to him the next 4 years because he is getting up there.
Yeah, it always is the case that's something. That's why you have a vice president, in case something happens to the president.
Right.
Okay. I don't think that's a reason for that sort of thing.
Yeah, I agree.
No, but that's one of the, I've heard that from Republican friends. They're going, this is all planned. He's going to die in 6 months. And Kamala said it on a live stream. And I go, no, fact check it. It's not true. But they do think that to get.
I think it's more. I think it's just mere speculation. Obviously, it is a fact that if something happens to him, she does become president, and that's always taken into account. It has to be taken into account, obviously. Right. But do I think it's something planned on? No, of course not.
Yeah. No, I don't think so either. And
images of, because I think so. Going back on facts, we have messages on social media.
Look at that hair, Steve.
We have
I got a knot. I can feel it.
Signal strength and geolocations. We have video and of cameras of multiple angles. So you have and it's not just someone's cell phone. You have someone else's cell phone who's nearby who's taking a picture of them, and someone else taking a picture of them taking a picture.
Yeah, and they have all the interrelationship of who's standing next to who kind of thing.
And so there's been some pretty good archivists that have been working with the FBI and turning it over. You also had some people turning state's evidence. there are Republicans who are disgusted with what happened, and so for example, there's a person I won't name who was a big parlor person, big influencer, who came on and said, "Hey, they're about to shut us down. Send me your name, address, and location, and I'll put you on the list to be able to be connected with." And basically turned over all this stuff, right, to names, addresses. Bear in mind that I have friends who are MAGA people who they can call up and talk to me because they know I'm not going to yell at them. I treat them like human beings, and they've been coming saying, "Hey, why don't you join Signal? Why don't you join Telegraph?" And I'm saying, "Dudes, do you understand metadata?"
Yeah, I don't. I'm not on Telegraph or
Photo
Signal.
has all of that
Somebody
information.
who is
Right.
dumb enough to say, "I'm going to download
Mhm.
this thing because something happened on Twitter and this platform was there," and then start to engage with
Yeah,
people.
yeah. Look,
You are
I'm under.
setting us up.
Here's my view on that. First of all, Moon for $5. Thank you, Moon. Hearts.
Oh yeah.
My thing is this. Look, you could pretend you have some kind of pure anonymity on the internet, but the reality is you really, really don't for the most part. I mean, almost always they can track who it is. If they really wanted to find you, there's pretty much zero anonymity. If somebody wanted to find you bad enough, right? There's always methods to do so.
Right,
even
right.
if you use a
Twitter's
VPN.
wonderful tool. These people are really bright.
Right, but a lot of
know?
people think that if you use a VPN, even with Tor, there are some things that people can use.
Yeah,
But I mean, to find you. But I mean, for the most part, for the average person, unless you take extraordinary measures, you're going to be found.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
your association with other people is part of the network that they build, right? They put the dots together,
Right.
right? You put the person traveled to. Did you, for example, all of a sudden anonymously travel across the U.S. to D.C. and made sure you were never on anyone's camera? You never went through. Oh, you went through an airport. Oh, you went through you did a taxi cab. You did a credit card purchase here.
Yeah, it's always a trail of some kind.
You got your picture taken with Alex Jones.
You have to be extraordinarily careful to the point of
God, yeah.
absurdity.
Well, okay, so Cash Override is the girl on who is the hacker on Twitter who, after Parler was deleted, they're all of the people that were on Parler are freaking out now because she has found some way to get in there, and she has not only their posts but their deleted posts. And so besides the metadata that's in the photos, there's also just from posting their IP address and different things. And I've seen actually, let's see who
and and not just her, but there are several other people who did that, as well as Amazon was the cloud service it was based upon, and the FBI has probably talked to Amazon for that data too. So just saying.
Well, I can tell
a lot of people putting in a lot of hours.
If you want to get on the radar as being a potential insurrectionist, download Signal, download Telegraph, because the reason doing it right now, because that's the type of people they're going to be looking for.
Yeah, that's a step one in their checklist.
What you're saying, the fact that you're associated with other people who are saying things is.
I have neither. But I will tell you this. I will tell you from firsthand experience. Amazon does make you go through hoops in order to fill a subpoena, but they eventually come through. So Amazon made us jump through major hurdles to get a subpoena request from them, and we didn't mind that. I mean, we understood, like there is some normality there. It was just, I think it was a formality kind of thing. But
the subpoenas have been issued. You look at the judges;
almost always they're gonna fulfill the request of the subpoena. If you have obviously a legitimate reason, it's more hassle for them to try to fight a subpoena. I think.
So do yourself a favor if you haven't already done the analysis. Don't go anywhere. Don't try to go anywhere near Parler. Don't go anywhere near these sort of.
I did make a Parler account a long time ago, but I never posted anything.
Itself is a signal, right?
Yeah, I never even posted anything on Parler. I didn't really know what it was at the time.
People who know what they're doing and have already given the FBI information do that. Don't set you up as a potential target.
Yeah. Do you remember way back when there was something called the Silk Road?
Yes.
Yeah.
That was the dark web, right?
That was the dark web with the Tor browser. And even with that though, that got shut down and people were arrested on it.
Yeah.
Eventually, yes. Yes.
It does. What's done in the dark comes to light.
So as I said, in 3 minutes, I'm going to be going down to take a message, and
That's,
then
by the way, that's why I do everything with the lights on. Dun dun.
Feel it
But
later.
but yeah, it is. Trust me, the people who know what they're doing and know how to do digital forensics have already gone into this information.
Totally.
They have a lot of good information there right now. Just stay away. Again, the recommendation starting on Friday night is to stay away from capitals, state capitals, U.S. Capitol. Stay away from federal buildings, state buildings, downtown and urban areas. There's going to be lots of security. They're going to be looking at who's showing up there to attempt to cause trouble. And
well, and that's a good point. Okay,
you're not anonymous.
So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
There have been reports that every single capital is going to be on alert. All 50 capitals, state capitals.
Right.
Now I don't know why there'd be some type of rights in states that are either A, clearly Republican, or B, so far Democrat that there's no. Why would you go on the U.S. Capitol? I mean something the California Capitol. I mean, come on. But do you think that there is a potential for another type of assault or riot on the Washington Capitol because of inauguration day or the day prior, and also on the the state capitals, or at least some state capitals, even though they have all 50 on warning?
Yes, in fact, that the FBI is saying that. I, as a former elected official, got a warning saying, we recommend that you take precautions, avoid downtown urban centers, avoid any state and federal buildings, and avoid capitals.
Yeah. No, I think that's wise advice.
And then said that the alert starts on the night of the 15th, and so it'll be Friday night, and continues through the 20th to be updated later. And basically
Friday to Thursday, a week.
They said it's a good idea for you to avoid those places because you have people who believe that it's their solemn duty to overthrow the government of the United States.
Yeah, no,
and even if it means overthrowing, because remember, there's a narrative saying, well, the Republicans didn't do enough to keep Trump in power. They're they've been corrupted, right?
Yeah, so in their mind's eye, that
police officers and veterans
Yeah.
and all kinds of people that are in public office. I mean, yeah.
Well, think about it. You have the fringe going, the Capitol riots. Those were the fringe, and then you have the fringe of those fringe.
Yeah,
you've got 2 or 3
That's
standard
right.
deviations of fringe, as
Scary.
Landon would kind of put it, of nuttery, right? And so those are the really radicalized one. I think Landon made a brilliant point, like he usually does, that these people that have felt kind of betrayed, and now they think that the Republicans are still part of the problem. They're like, it's not just
they wanted to hang Mike Pence.
Yeah,
the vice president.
Exactly. So
right?
I mean,
saying, oh,
it's
I'm
not
in
party
the state of
lines now.
Kentucky, or I'm in the state of Oklahoma,
Right.
just fine. No,
Crazy.
you're actually one of the targets. Actually,
I totally agree.
Other people more of the targets.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this next week coming up should be. I don't know why it's as early as the 15th, but I will tell you that I do think that on the 19th, around the 19th, that there might be some stuff, and even as on inauguration day itself, probably. So I think the 19th and 20th has a very high potential to be very volatile, to say the least.
Well, they're
and so
prepared
part of the
now.
thing is that there are people knowing that the 19th and 20th might be very heavy security, said, well, I'm going to show up earlier.
And that might be true too. And that'd be true too.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right. So I think there's a good point to be had on that. If they think there's going to be heavy security on the 19th and 20th, they might show up early. But at the same time, these people are going to be either arrested or they're going to be killed. I mean, the government now has recognized that there is an existential threat to be had here, and 5 people have died already because of insurrection. And now, granted, some of them I think were maybe natural causes, like I guess 1 or 2 died of a heart attack or something like that. But it's still, the deaths can be causally attributed to these types of situations in some capacity.
Well, and last week was, they weren't, I mean, obviously the president was not rushing to send the National Guard. In fact, he
tried to prevent that, I think.
Right.
Yeah, he inhibited it.
So this is a totally different situation. I think. I mean, they've got the National Guard sleeping in the Capitol.
Yeah,
But
well, they're
I,
not messing around, and those National Guards, they will kill
no,
you.
and these people are not afraid to. I mean, think about it. I was talking to Joe about it, and I go, God, these are people that have worked their whole lives. They have these careers in law enforcement and they're veterans and they hold public office and all of these things. Why would they do this? But you know how that goes. The adrenaline's pumping and other people are doing it. And the sociology behind it is one person jumps in and the rest of the crowd starts jumping in and and you just go with it. It's not like, I know it was a plan, but I think a lot of people who wouldn't normally do that did go along with things. And when you see these videos, it's like, God, I mean, it's surreal. I remember watching, I thought, is this really happening? Like, is this real life? It's crazy. It was crazy to watch.
One sec. Okay, I'm getting inundated with messages here.
Oh, Mr. Popularity.
Sometimes I just gotta take some things. Okay, let's look at the live chat here. One guy, yeah, I don't know if this is actually a true. Yeah, I heard this as well. That some guy tased his own balls and had a heart attack. Which, by the way, would probably give you one. Yeah, and I heard Brandy Beaver says
someone tased his own balls.
Yeah, that's what I understand. I heard that as well. And I didn't have not checked the veracity of it, but I have heard.
Reason
well, why he tased his own balls? Hey, I don't kink shame, man. No, I think obviously it was an accident. It was an accident. Yeah, I mean, whatever floats your boat, man. Don't judge.
Okay, it was an accident. Okay, that you should put that in there.
Yeah,
okay,
well, I didn't do the research on it, but I'm pretty sure if I had to guess, it'd be accidental. Nobody goes to a riot and says, "Hey, look, I'm going to stand here and tase my own balls." Well, then again, people have self-emulated themselves. So I guess maybe they would be going, "Hey, look, I'm pro-Trump." Zzz! And by the way, was it a hand taser where you just have the prongs, or like the things that stick out, the terminals,
they're not prongs,
or were they ones that fire like a gun? Because a gun would have hurt worse. I can imagine.
Yeah, I can't remember what those are called, but yeah, they like shoot out. Okay.
Yeah, there's a stun gun, right? But there's actually taser. So did he?
Yeah, you're right.
Did he get shoot with a stun gun with prong? That stuck in him, or did he use a handheld taser? Not that one's anything better than the other. He died from it, but
at least it wasn't a real gun. I mean, he did it to himself. Well, let's hope it was accidental.
He might have survived the real gun, though. The real gun might have just, unless he had blood loss. But when you have electrical current in the shock, that's what probably gave him a heart attack. Snopes debunked it. Okay, he says Snopes debunked it. So it's like I said, I haven't checked the veracity of that myself. And see, I tell you when I check things or not.
Dude.
See, this is why you don't take things at face value.
It's
right?
true.
Yeah,
actually a good point.
But I have heard that. But like I said, I have not checked into if that's actually something true or not. So Brainy Beaver, I guess you have checked into it and have changed your position of that claim based upon new evidence, because that's what a rational person does, and you have now withdrawn that claim. See how that works on this channel? You learn how to do critical thinking.
Yes, I know. It's so great. Okay, so that's a no on the balls.
That's a no on the balls.
Okay, good to know.
But I mean, it is a story that seems at least believable, doesn't it?
Oh, they say he was stealing something. Okay, well, God, did you guys see the attorneys who were talking on behalf of their new client, who are the reputable guys out of Florida, I guess, the guy that took Nancy Pelosi's podium, otherwise known as, what is the name for a podium that's not a podium? What is it? I can't remember what they call it. But anyway, it was $1,000 podium. It's the guy going, he looks like Chip Gaines, and he's walking out of the building kind of going, yeah. So he just got out of jail, and they didn't have a very good defense on CNN last night. It was kind of
but isn't he the guy that says that? No, wait. It's the other guy that says that he only has to eat organic food.
That's the other dude. That's the guy with the horns.
Yeah.
So the redheaded guy from yesterday, his wife is a doctor, and he is.
He's a stay-at-home dad. That's right. And they let him off because he's a stay-at-home dad. Yeah.
But no wonder he was.
A lectern. Yeah, a lectern. Yeah, it's a lectern. That's good.
Lectern. There we go. Yes. Thank you.
So let me get this straight here. You have two people that are arrested. The first one says he can only eat organic food, and they capitulated to him. The second one says he's a stay-at-home dad, and they capitulated to that. Now, I'm not going to throw the race card in here, but I'm going to throw the race card in here. If I'm telling, I do believe this, and I actually believe that if they had been black, neither one of them would have been when given that. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but
Neither one would have what?
they would have not have capitulated if they were black. I do believe white privilege is a thing.
Well, of course it is.
But I mean,
absolutely.
Again, I hate to throw that race card out there, but I have to be practical here because I have never seen a situation where you say, look, I can only eat organic food because normal food makes me sick. Really? Because it's organic? That just means it grew out in the ground without pesticides.
I mean, it sounds ridiculous, and it makes him look like a total, you know what? I don't want to say, I don't know if I can say that.
Well, it's a Karen.
Yeah, well, a dick, but he also looks like a pussy. But anyway, so one or the other. His mother was caught outside of the jail. She was trying to see him, and they interviewed her, and she said, but it really hurts his tummy. It's not that because he is a failed actor out of LA, I think, and that didn't really work out for him. So he wore the horns into the Capitol.
Hey, it's one thing to have, look, I eat kosher food. Okay, I could get something like that. I could understand that. And I do believe that even in prison, they should have at least more than one thing available to them. I don't have a problem with that. I really don't. But here's a situation where a person says, look, I can only eat organic. I don't buy that. I really just don't buy that narrative. I'm sorry.
She
that's
says his
BS.
tummy will hurt, though.
Yeah, really?
He's gonna throw a fit. I don't know. I mean,
it is mind-boggling, though, isn't it? And they cater to that too. Now, let me ask you this: if he goes to federal prison, do you think they're going to give a shit about that?
No, and
I don't think so.
To buy. His mommy can pay for it. Put the money on his books. Like,
I haven't. No, you know what? I don't know about that. See, then you run into the problem with you run into privilege, right? You run into the problem with people that have more money. You're going to get more perks, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But that's
now commissary stuff is food. I get that. You know, like candy bars and ghee dunk and stuff like that. But
those were organic bullhorns.
Yes.
Yada yada yada.
But the other was like a stay-at-home dad. You know how many stay-at-home mothers have been arrested that was not in consideration?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean. I'm just like, what? How is that a factor in arraignment?
Well, and let's just talk about the fact that had everyone been black and it was a BLM protest, there would have been thousands of dead bodies. I mean, it would have been a completely different situation.
Yeah, like I said, I think that this was I mean, again, I really am not the kind of person to go down and throw the race thing out there, but I think this was I don't know how else you could look at it. There was clearly some white, there was some white privilege there.
Yeah.
And if people want to criticize me for that, I'm okay with that. I'll take that the criticism on that because it is a very subjective thing that I cannot obviously demonstrate one way or another. But it is my opinion. It is my unsubstantiated opinion as far as what I can demonstrate. But it sure seems to be that the case. I mean, I mean,
I know it's true.
It's mind-boggling.
What is it? OLM says he should eat Trump food. McDonald's washed down with Adderall.
Yeah, that's what you want for prison, right? McDonald's washed down with Adderall. There you go.
You'd get shanked for that Adderall. I know that.
Well, and Trump doesn't drink, does he? I don't think Trump's a drinker, right? Doesn't he abstain from alcohol?
But he's an addict. He's an Adderall addict. So he's an addict one way or the other.
Is he on Adderall? I don't even know. Okay.
He's yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Boy, that will explain a lot. Adderall does seem to mess people's mind because I mean, it is basically a poor man's version of it's a poor man version of amphetamine. But I mean, again, I'm not against prescriptive medication by far, but
no, absolutely not.
There's a high propensity for Adderall people to misuse their medication. We see this all the time, even with the opiate situation, right? With Vicodin and oxycodone, people have a tendency to overprescribe themselves or overdose on that because. You know, hey, one pill's great. I'm going to take 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6, and I'll feel even better, kind of thing.
And they're done that. Yep, it's true. Very tricky stuff.
Yeah. Now, I had been prescribed pretty strong stuff way back in the day with my back. I took one pill as needed. I mean, like once a week, once every couple weeks. It was very rare. I mean, so I realized, hey, look, they say it's not really that addicting unless you take a lot of it. But I'm like, I know I've seen people get addicted from regular. Even prescribed uses of some of these types of medication, but I only want to take it when the pain is so much. You really have no other choice. You cannot function. No. Anybody who has had any kind of major back pain, you know that you can't move. I mean, how do you work when you twist the wrong way and you have excruciating pain going up through your head? It's hard, you know.
Yeah, it's. I know. I broke my back. I have steel.
Oh yeah, you're rebuilt. Yeah.
So I did the whole painkiller thing, and I didn't realize when I stopped taking it, I just wouldn't feel very good. And then it was like, well, I need more. It's been there, done that. It's so easy. It's so easy to
Yeah,
go
the
down
only thing
that
I've ever been addicted to was cigarettes, and I have to come to that conclusion because nicotine is highly addictive.
Yeah,
But I was able to
definitely.
quit cold turkey. Literally, I'm quitting on December 5th, 2015. Uh, I
Good for
just
you.
yeah, I quit that day, even though I wasn't intentional. It wasn't until I was like I'm just too lazy to go out. I think it was a Sunday, and I was like I'm too lazy to go out and get more. The next day, I was like, yeah, I haven't had any for 24 hours. I'm just not feeling
Wow,
well.
that's
And then it came 2 or 3
unusual.
days later, and then I got even more sick because I had the smoker's flu. I was dying. I'm like,
What is
oh,
that?
the smoker's flu is basically when people feel like they're having the flu. It's not withdrawal, but it has to. From what I understand, it has to do with your ligands on some of your receptors actually straightening out. That's causing a reaction in your
What?
body. Yeah,
Oh my
I
God.
don't remember the
That's not
technical stuff
considered
on it, but
withdrawal?
it's like called the smoker's flu. But I was sicker than a dog. So about 6 or 7 days later, right? I'm now feeling better, but I'm like, oh, I'm not going through that crap again. And I haven't had a cigarette since then. So yeah, it's been 5 years,
That's
December
crazy. Good
2015.
congrats. That's amazing.
But
Yeah, and
you're addicted to nicotine. I mean, that's a fact.
I mean, I have my little vape thing, but it's more of like a pacifier. I just kind of hold it. I don't really do it a lot, but
I like my
it's also
coffee, but I wouldn't say I'm addicted to it. Godless scummer, 5 pounds. He may get organic food, but there's still no PK in prison. Well, yeah, no PK in prison.
yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if that means if Kyle can actually, when he gets arrested, that he can say, "Look, I only eat BK. That's my diet. I don't eat Burger
I
King."
know. Oh, God.
Oh, that'd be
Look,
funny.
you're gonna have to do something for that BK, buddy.
Yeah, well, it's Kyle. He probably would. Landon, we're not going to ask you about the details of your phone call, but did it go well?
I gave a little bit of stuff. It
Ooh,
was
a little bit of something.
it was a staffer of member of Congress, and again, it was sort of commentary about being nice to people who were quite frightened. You understand that there's about 2,000 people that are quite traumatized in the
Sure.
Capitol, and this. I remember this person that was they were fleeing for their lives from 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 a raging mob. Had to go down a corridor. At the end of the corridor, there were two doors, one of which they could hear sounds coming from the hallway the other side. They were both locked, and they had to make the guess as to which door was the mob behind and which door wasn't. There was too much commotion for them to do it, and they didn't have
Yeah.
time to sit there and analyze this thing, knowing that if they opened the wrong door, they'd have raging fight on hands. The other door, they'd have a clear shot down to the escape route, and making that choice, right? And the person was, so the person's, there are people now. There'll be more coming out, but there were some pretty horrific scenes and people who did some pretty amazing acts of heroism,
Yeah.
bipartisan heroism, and people that helped each other that normally oppose each other in Congress, and staff members who gave assistance and so forth. And you had people who were, people were in their 70s are not the speediest runners.
Sure. But that could add to the unity if they would talk about those stories on the
Yeah,
news.
and so you had a couple of a couple of there's some fairly beefy Congress member that basically picked all the people up and carried them.
Yeah.
Ran with them, like, and so forth for that sort of thing, and didn't care about the dignity of the moment. They cared about the humanity of the people who were there. So
Right.
that was a message from some of the staffers expressing appreciation and talking about, they're asking about some more references to there's a number of counselors that are being asked to come in and provide assistance because people have been traumatized.
Yeah. I think there was a security guard that led them down, led the protesters, if you want to call them that, terrorists, really, down another hallway, I guess. Happened to be black, and he, saved a lot of people, I think. So those stories will come out, and I look forward to hearing those.
Okay,
So
let's
he's
see.
being honored, yes.
So I'm just catching up on the live chat here.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we kind of like laid out one, what the impeachment is, two, what happens from here, three, what happens if he is convicted in the Senate, and which I think again has a pretty significant possibility, at least more than last time. Again, 0 Republicans last time, 10 already are on board this time, and I'm sure there might be 7 Republicans out there that are senators that wanted to save their political ass, so to speak, and as Heather pointed out, distance
to be
themselves.
fair, Mitt Romney did vote yes on one article.
He
In last the impeachment, yeah, okay, one article out of how many that he had on that one.
I know,
But here,
McConnell's a lover, but yeah.
But here, like I said, they only have one article on impeachment, as Landon pointed out. But in that one article, it contains quite a bit of stuff. I mean, they included the phone conversation, which is evidence for, threats. I mean, he literally seemed to have threatened the Georgia's person who certifies the results of the election, kind of thing. And he's like, hey, find me those votes. Find him.
Who's a Republican?
And you understand that the Georgia Attorney General, who's a Republican, considering filing charges.
Yeah.
Because
Yes.
understand as well, in Georgia, the election worked for a number of people. That is, their state house and governor, it worked for them. So they don't appreciate Trump coming and saying a fraudulent election because they say, wait, I got elected that election too. I think one of the disconnects that the president has as part of his black and white problem is he can't conceive of somebody voting, let's say, for a member of Congress who's a Republican and voting against him for president.
Yep.
To him, that doesn't make sense. When it actually very does. In fact, the Democrats need to understand that the Republicans made non-trivial gains in the House of Representatives. They did not lose nearly as many seats as they thought in the Senate. They made gains in state legislatures and governors. The Republicans did reasonably well across the country, and the Democrats got sit there and say, "Oh, because the Democrats barely have control of the Senate after January 20th. They have a slim lead in the House, and they have the presidency."
Should they take that as some kind of referendum? That, hey, here's the people speaking up here. They should be like, hey, we need to be concerned here. It's not just the Republicans are in jeopardy. I think the Democrats as well. I think a lot of them, as Heather pointed out, look, the Republicans probably may split. They might have, I said this last time, they have to decide whether they want to go with the evangelical base or they want to go with more of the conventional type of Republican.
Or just doing what's right.
Oh yeah,
There's
well,
that.
yeah. I mean, obviously, there's certain things I think I agree with you. I think are just no-brainers, right? And because I think voting along party lines is dangerous. I think that people should vote, what is right or wrong. And I think that, like you said, when it comes to the gains of both the House and the Senate, and also the state elections, people. Here's this. The people in Congress, I think they forgot that a lot of it starts at the grassroots effort. A lot of them start at the government, at the very local city level, right. the state level, the gubernatorial type things. A lot of them seem to not really understand that, and we've seen changes because of things of boots on the ground kind of stuff.
Right.
So
that's a good point. Really good point. It's true.
Yeah. So I mean, I think both parties need to wake up and realize that neither one have done exceptionally well. It isn't a matter that here's the point. Neither one of them are doing great. It's just that people are evaluating who's worse, I think.
Yeah.
Isn't that sad that that's a choice?
Yeah.
God, it's
the lesser of evils. I don't find either one of them doing that great.
Yeah.
The loss of the GOP Senate chairmanships is probably the worst loss the GOP has in this election. Together, the GOP chairmanships, I would say, arguably, are more powerful in terms of affecting money and political power than the presidency alone. And they would have hoped that they could have controlled the Senate and control the chairmanships for at least another 2 years. They failed to do so. The worst thing is that Trump actively worked against the Republicans in Georgia. He used this as a threat, saying, you stand with me, or I'm going to teach you.
He threatened their political career. He threatened them politically.
Yes.
Okay, let me ask you this, and I'll get to the super chat.
Republicans if they didn't stand
Right.
behind him, and
I-
he carried on a threat.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000%. Let me read this super chat, then I have a follow up on that. Kawasa 5001. Well, not for now. Let's just hope that the inauguration goes without incident. Crosses figures. I think that I think there'll be incidents, Kawasa. I'm sorry, but I think there's going to be something. Obviously, very high probability. I mean, we can hope for not, but I mean, it's just with the political landscape the way it is, seeing the nuttery that's out there. There's just super fringe people out there. But let me ask
We're
Landon.
better equipped.
Yeah.
Better equipped.
Let me ask Landon. So, do you think that a lot of them took these threats as hollow because they know he's lame duck and he's on the outs?
I think they had hoped that it would be hollow, but they were then quite surprised at the buildup, and they were quite surprised. Now, the FBI had been giving warnings, but they weren't really being taken seriously. I mean, I think they were naive on the day of the 6th as to the level of threat that was posed to the Capitol. And you can thank them for your inability to get a good tour of the Capitol in the future.
Okay, sorry. I don't mean to be rude. I got to respond to Rue here, and you know how it is. I mean,
Yeah,
I cannot ignore Rue if I tried before, but no, I mean, I said something to him, so I don't mean to be rude, but I'm a busy guy, man.
Yeah, let's hear about it.
No,
did you guys talk about him yet?
Ruhif and I?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, it's other unrelated stuff.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, but I had to get back. I had to respond to him. So people are like, yeah, because I try to focus on what's going on, but I also have to.
Yeah, it's
respond
tough.
to yes, it really is. That's what I'm saying. When you have to take a call, take a call. We all have other things that are we have to do.
Well, it was probably to take the call later. So the point, I guess, again. Let's summarize the House resolution 2 passed, or 24 passed by a majority in the House of Representatives. So Donald Trump has been impeached for the second time. The House will then select who are the case managers, who are the people who are going to go from the House and present this article of impeachment to the Senate, and then will be invited to become the people, if you will, the prosecution during the trial. The most likely is that the trial won't start until after January 20th, after Trump has left office. But that still is a valid trial, and conviction would not only, depending on his levels, has the ability of Trump to hold office or hold any title or honor within the United States, as well as impacting his pension and other things, as well as let's not lose sight of the fact that justice needs to prevail. Consequences for these kind of actions need to occur.
Amen. That's right.
If you let this stuff, if you don't stand up against this thing,
yes.
When do you stand up for it? When, as this resolution indicates, that the president, was involved in interfering with election and interfering. Remember, it's the January 6th event that it talks about, and the January 2nd threats as just some of the things he's done. When do you stand up? It doesn't matter that he has this many days left. Now, there is a very interesting comment, which is that the scope of the pardon power, right? The Article 2, Section 2, Clause 1 says president shall have the power to grant and repeat pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment.
Yeah.
Let me say that again. The power to grant or reprieve pardons for offenses against the United States, except in cases of impeachment.
And I don't think he could pardon himself either. But what, Heather?
Well, then I want to know, why are some of these attorneys having a problem with saying that?
Well,
they're arguing this point.
It is possible, if you are someone legal mind, to say, argue this case. Here's my client, argues this case. You're trained to come up with arguments along a certain line.
Yeah, you could
So,
argue. Hey, look, Heather, you know firsthand, you could argue anything in a court if you need to.
Yeah.
I mean,
so
pretty much.
arguing
Doesn't mean
is
you're gonna win,
not.
Yeah,
right?
it doesn't mean you're going to win, but you can try to argue it.
I
And then
mean, it's never happened, so
Yeah.
there's
yeah.
disagreements about the limit of the pardon power, right? And Congress's ability to try to limit it as well. So there are people who say, but ultimately these arguments end up, if necessary, going to the Supreme Court, who makes determinations.
Yeah,
And
well, they have not been, and it's only been recent because of new appointees, but historically, they have not been favorable to Trump, by the way. But real quick, Kawasa 5001. If there's a chance Trump might want to seek actual political asylum outside the U.S., people keep bringing that up, but I think he's too arrogant to. I don't think he'd run. I don't know. Who knows? I mean, I think though if they do file charges against him, whether it be at a federal level or state level, or in this case, Washington D.C. might actually file charges, because even if he is indemnified federally, in some cases, he is not. At the the D.C. level.
The state of New York has 68 indictments ready.
Yeah,
to
exactly.
file
It's the state level. So he could definitely be criminally prosecuted on multiple
but these are
different
for
ways.
things even before he was president.
Correct, right?
So-
But do I think he?
Yeah.
I think he thinks he has such a brilliant team of lawyers, Giuliani.
Oh my God.
But I think he thinks that they protect him and they will be able to do so. But whatever. I do have to be right back real quick. Hey, Landon, here's what we're going to try here. I'm giving Heather control of my show for a few minutes.
Okay.
Knock yourself out. What could go wrong here?
Heather, we are in your hands.
Don't.
Commit
Don't
to
say.
the video.
Oh my God. No. Okay. Yeah. This
So
is
how do you
scary.
feel? What is? Tell me what you feel about what's happened.
Okay. That's a good question. I feel like the rest of the country, well, I guess 50% of the country. It's terrifying. It really is terrifying because I've never seen anything like that.
You
I've
feel
never
frightened
seen.
or
It's a movie.
afraid?
Huh?
You feel frightened or afraid? What's the word? I feel.
I feel. I don't necessarily feel afraid, but I feel, I guess, sad. I guess it's just
Okay,
a lot
sad.
of, yeah, it's a lot of, this can really happen here. I mean, I thought I was in a third world country when I saw what was happening. It's just a movie. It does not seem real.
Um,
And a civil war seems like not that crazy at this point. It just, it's, yeah, frightening. How about you?
Well, I don't think necessarily a civil war, but I think the one thing I was concerned about are people who feel that they have legitimate reason to take up arms against the United States and to conduct, you know, the so-called domestic terrorism, right?
Mhm.
That the insurrection failed. I think we're going to see during the trial a number of these people being emboldened because they will have their day in court and
Yeah,
they will
point.
spew some pretty interesting stuff. Also, remember that there's no guarantee that these people will be convicted.
That's what I was going to say. It's a great point. Watching them storm, the Capitol like that, I thought, God, if they get away with this, that's exactly how they're going to feel, emboldened. I mean, you can't, obviously you can't arrest all of them. So the ones that have been sort of seem like they're superstars. They're not really fazed by it. Seems like they're very proud of themselves. But them being emboldened, that's a terrifying thought. They'll up the
And
ante.
yeah, and look at, for example, the Bundys and what that did when their charges of when they were held siege on that sanctuary and bird sanctuary or wildlife sanctuary in
Right.
Oregon,
And
and
right.
were acquitted of a number of charges. They were quite emboldened, went out and did a number of things in places like Idaho and so forth. So that's one of the things that we're going to face is that just because they've been indicted does not mean they're guilty. That's what
Right.
a trial is for. And you can have trial situations where a mistake is made because someone's overzealous and the judge throws out evidence and the jury quite rightfully fails to convict, finds them not guilty because of so there's no by no means
Right.
certain that a percentage of these people will be tried. Now, I think some of them will be offered plea
A deal,
deals,
of
right?
course. Of
Right?
course.
And that's going to be for another process. So the adjudication of this is going to be a very painful process. It's going
Mhm.
to give rise to other people who then feel it's their turn to attack.
Right.
People who feel powerless see power because they've been given they have access to a weapon or a device of destruction and uses that against people because they feel God
Right.
pulls
And
them
they
to or whatever the thing
they
is.
see the president who has made it to the level he is, inciting all of this and saying, "Do it. This is okay. You're taking the country back." And when you look at, I saw some video with a woman who went into Parlor and watched a lot of what, or listened and read a lot of what these people are saying, and it is insane. They believe that the Pope was arrested and he's just in hiding and like it just crazy things. And they believe this stuff.
All right,
They're doing these
let me
things,
ask you guys. And by the way, did she do a good job? Did nothing happen? Didn't
Absolutely
fires?
excellent. She
He
was
saved
very
me.
articulate, and you probably gained followers because she was
I
running
have
this.
not gained a follower in months, man. I don't know.
You
People
guys
shout
are
me out and
so
call me out, and I've literally not gained a follow. I've had anything. I've lost a couple here and there. That's it's whatever.
stop it. That's not
No, I'm sure. No, I'm not even lying. I'm not. No, I'm telling you the truth. I'm probably going to be under 17,000 here shortly.
what's wrong with these people.
It's okay. A lot of them with dead subs,
But they
so,
said, "Hey, Heather's running the show. Let's go and subscribe."
yeah, yeah.
Wanted.
I'll use her for that. I'm okay with that.
Use me.
Yeah, Heather's here. If you hate puppies, you'll subscribe. If you don't hate puppies, you'll subscribe. There you go. That's how we're gonna do it.
Right.
So one, I mean, people really think that like Russia, is gonna like take in Trump open arms. It was like Julian Assange, living at the embassy kind of thing, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. But what was I gonna ask?
Steve, let me ask you. Let me ask this question. I asked Heather. How do you feel? What with the events from the 6th to now? What word would describe how you feel?
Frustrated.
Okay.
I'm frustrated that we have let
frustrated.
Well, here's a big thing. I can't imagine anybody saying they didn't see this coming, right? I mean, this has been something that has been ongoing with a person that we have had in one of the highest possible positions of power in the world, if not the highest, certainly in the United States, that has a severe personal flaws, severe psychological issues. I mean, again, psychologists have tried to warn us about him for a very long time. I mean, there's a group of 20 psychologists, and I know people have, people came about and said, "Oh, well, the Goldwater thing." Look, that doesn't really apply. I don't know why they keep bringing that up. Which basically the psychologist should not give a evaluation of somebody unless they've had a actual, assessment of them directly, right? That's, well, I think it was a Goldwater or Gold something, whatever the hell that's called. Goldwater, yeah. But the problem with that is that I don't think that applies to political people of an office. If they're warning people, hey, look, here's a person, it has power. We deemed this person to be psychologically impaired. And I'm sorry, if somebody doesn't think that Trump is not a full-on narcissist, not an egotist, not an authoritarian, there's some issues there. So we have been warned about this for a very long time. His hyperinflated language that he's used to create this narrative of a stolen election, we've been warned about. We've been seeing these radicalized people. We've been seeing these evangelicals go lose their minds on thinking that Trump has somehow been appointed by God. I mean,
I know. Well, world history books have warned us about this. I mean, it's Hitler all over again, is what it is.
yeah,
Is
people don't
dictator
listen.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So
I agree.
those are all great concerns and those kind of feeling. I feel hopeful. And the reason why I feel hopeful is that the system worked. The government did not collapse.
Oh, I agree with that.
Congress, I think, came back to the spot, even when it wasn't fully cleaned out, and finished their business and said, these people are not going to stop the government, stop process. Congress impeached sitting president, even though he has, only in days worth of left for his office, because the Constitution mattered. Yes, it was sad to hear some of the people on the other side that were saying some of them had legitimate disagreements, but some of them were actually quite wacko,
Yeah. No,
and that's
Yeah.
sad to hear.
I-
But
the system
again,
worked. I get that,
the system works, and
but
this is why
it didn't work well. I'm sorry, but that was
Yeah.
on a personal. I mean, these are all. I think there were failings of the people in charge to implement things that the system had available to them. They didn't handle these things properly. I'm sorry, they just didn't. But the system, over the end, with enough safeguards, worked.
Yeah, and
Right.
I think, and it will be interesting, the review of security in the Capitol and how it proved will
Yeah, good
be there.
point.
I think the sergeant arms of Arms Arms will be probably pilloried in history for inability to do so. I mean, Steve, you've been on a base. You were in the Navy, right? You
Yes,
were in
sir.
bases where there were really important stuff that a mob should not get a hold of.
Let's put it this way. I'll relate to your little anecdotal story before you continue. I want to take 10, 15 seconds.
Please.
When I was in Noll's Atomic Power Labs, where we went for prototype, I had been stargazing the night before, and I had a lens case, for my lens, my ocular. You keep them in a little case. It looks like a film case, right? Very similar. And I just didn't realize that I had it on me when I went through the security thing, the metal detectors along the yards. I had a random stop. They found that, and they were looking at possible, charges for violations of security, because they thought it was a film case, even though there was no film in it. And I'm like, well, first of all, it's not film case. It's an ocular for a telescope for stargaze, and nothing became of it. But I mean, I was a little concerned. Obviously, I'm like, wait a minute here. I'm going to be charged with possibly with what? Because because they thought it was possible film smuggling. Not that I know what. I mean, film itself, but I mean,
so that's a great example.
yeah,
Steve.
I've had to do these security checks. I mean, you literally
If
you have
you're doing
yeah.
basis where you had, because you say you're part of new school stuff.
Yeah, it's
And
classified. Yeah.
and you had a couple thousand people start to hold a rally around it, chanting and saying they're going to go and storm the place. Do you
Yeah.
think the military would have done something?
Yes. Yeah. Quite.
So-
Matter of fact, the
so-
military
so-
is obligated to do something.
And
Unlike
so-
unlike the police, who don't seem to think that defending the public is part of their inherent job function, as the Supreme Court seemed to have backed up. But the police, the military, yes, you have an obligation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what? So the one of the things that happened is what? How did that get that situation? How did it get so bad that this mob was able to be that successful?
They were outnumbered. They weren't prepared.
And it was planned.
It was planned, very well
And they had
planned and
access.
orchestrated.
The cops opened the gates. There were several that are being investigated, rightly so, because they allowed them to go in.
But Heather, what happens if there was an Al Qaeda member in that? I mean, they had to take that. 2 bite bombs. I mean, clearly it seemed like almost all of it was domestic, and I will use the term domestic terrorism because that's essentially what it was. But
Definitely.
I mean, I think it could have very been had been foreign nationals to use that. Absolutely. I mean, I'm surprised that they didn't. Sequasa 20,000 won, but Landon, the democratic process of picking candidates, the conventions, the numerous steps to go through to screen out bad politicians all failed to screen out Trump. What's your opinion on this, and why did it fail? That's an excellent
Maybe
question.
it should change. Yeah.
Well, I hope is that the system worked, and in fact, Trump was duly elected in 2016. If people remember, I was extremely critical of certain Democrats saying "not my president."
Yeah.
Because the system, he was certified as having at least 270 electors. He swore the oath of office. That's how he became president.
Right.
Now, why did he become president? Well, because millions of people supported him, sufficient to have enough electors to elect him.
Mhm.
This time, 75 million people, knowing 4 years of Trump, voted for him anyway. There were a number of Republicans who chose not to vote for Trump because of the same reason. And that's why you see in the down ballots at the state level, local level, the Republicans did not do that bad. It's just that Trump wasn't with them. Now, I'm not saying the system is perfect. I'm saying the system worked, right? We do not have mobs occupying the Capitol. The government is functioning. The government did not collapse. That's what I feel relieved, perhaps. Maybe that's the word I want to use, whereas I feel relieved that we did not have a collapse of government. I am concerned about the process of adjudicating this stuff, and the people who might take upon themselves to the mantle of attacking. But we'll see.
Okay, so somebody was saying in the live chat that Brian was saying that one of the the representatives refused to have a bag search after they went through a metal detector and it went off. Now, there's a couple things in the law from that, from what I understand. They have to have a reason to be able to go through your stuff, your personal belongings, right? Now, there's the legal thing to be had though. If you go through a metal detector and you set it off, is there warrant to go through something because you're trying to come on the property? Or they just say, look, you can't come in until you get a proper search and we'll let you go? Or do they have a right to go through your stuff if you have set off the metal detector carrying some kind of a purse or something like that? I don't know the legalities of that because there's a constitutional issue either way, right? You can say, look, I don't give you consent, but by going through the metal detector, do you inherently give them consent if you happen to go off? I do not know, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, we need to talk to a lawyer on that because I don't have the answer to that. But from what I understand, she was licensed to carry a firearm. Now, she didn't allow for the search, and they let her in anyways. But even with the firearm concealed carry, you cannot bring a firearm into certain areas, right? So I don't know the statute on that as far as.
She wouldn't be able to bring.
But she didn't let them go through, and they still let her in. That to me is disconcerting.
I'm not sure what that process is.
She went through, and they didn't, and she didn't.
A metal detector, or just went through
the metal detector. It went off. She didn't allow them to go through her purse, but they let her in anyways. And she is licensed to carry. But I don't know how that works. I mean, if you I don't care who you are, you go through security. You need to be checked. Now, there are certain times, like as you know as well. In fact, I know the Justice Center you love so well. I've been there a few times myself. But on the plate, on the plaintiff's end. But I've been there myself many times. The lawyers get a special little thing they can go through.
Right, they can.
Right.
But you can't. I mean, well, it depends. I mean, it's all about who you know and how much money you have.
Right. Generally, though, you have the regular people, and then you have the lawyers thing, and most of the time they don't do any kind of search for the lawyer.
Yeah, that's how I was able to get in during COVID. But yeah,
let me give you an actual case that I think is relevant to this. In the city of Sunnyvale, we ended up impeaching our mayor. I was part of the subcommittee to draft the articles, and but we were in the process of doing that. And once we impeached, we took 2 weeks to investigate, and then we held a trial. And she was convicted of the articles. And by the way, in our trial, we did the same thing. We said these are limited on this is the stuff. We had like six particular articles of impeachment. In the trial and our investigation, we brought in a whole lot more. So, in fact, one of the things is that the trial is done. But let me go back to the thing. She made open statements that she had a gun in her purse, and that she was mad enough and upset enough that she felt she needed to use it
with no threat.
And so we went and said, can we have metal detectors? Can we force a search on this thing? And the answer from the attorney, as much as she wanted to say, no, you can't. You cannot. We could not prevent a public official from entering the chambers, even if the carrying a loaded firearm into the chambers was in violation of the chamber rules. She said the problem is if she takes out and uses it, not only can you charge assault, but you could also charge her under rules. But that doesn't prevent her from entering in, and you don't have a sufficient probable cause for that thing to search the case. So what did we do instead? Well, we were issued Kevlar vests, and we had a number of plainclothes police officers standing around, ready, watching, ready to jump on her should she reach for her purse during that time. And we had to leave in the back to avoid crowd situations, so forth. There were some pretty tense times, right? For that and that process. She was not well. We actually employed a psychiatrist to sit in chambers and watch her and watch tapes. And the advice we asked for the psychiatrist was, what is the likely people that exhibit the behavior she does? What is the likely outcome? Are they people who threaten, or do, or both? What is your experience? Without saying what she's going to do, given her search. So we made use of psychiatrists as well to try to figure out what was going on.
Yeah, okay. Well,
situation where this person just a few seats down could open up a firearm and start shooting at me.
Well, I don't think Trump is going to do something like that. But I mean, how dangerous is Trump in the last 7 days? I mean,
but I mean, I'm talking about being in chambers like that with members that carry guns.
Mhm.
Part of the thing is that debate can get quite heated.
Oh yeah, I think it's a horrible idea. It's not. I mean, you have okay. Look, I'm all for Second Amendment rights, and I think you have a right to defend yourself. But you're in a situation there. You have Capitol Police to do that job for you. You don't. You just certain areas. Even with concealed, I had a concealed weapons permit up in Washington. I cannot go into a judge's chambers with a firearm. I could go in all the public areas I wanted to.
And so I hope that this House figures out a way to enforce that procedure, because one of the things that they do is that if a member says, hey, I want to carry a firearm and you're preventing me from going inside and voting, well, there's procedures, and you saw it today, where you can ask another member to vote on your behalf. Right?
Yeah,
you can basically have I got proxy.
Right, by proxy.
You
sure.
don't have to be in there to cast your vote.
Correct.
If you were to stand outside on some principle, you can't be searched. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, it depends on the institution, but yeah. It
But I
just
hope the
depends.
House rules get strengthened to say, bypassing they just, by the way, the irony is, today they just instituted a rule saying that going on the House floor without a mask on the first offense is a $500 fine taken out of their pay, and the second is $2,000. Second offense is $2,000. So they're basically saying, they're serious, because there are members who just feel it's their right to go in without on masks and spew for stuff. So they're getting harsh on that. I hope they also work on security for that sort of thing, because it's not only just the members, but also the staff and other people going in and out that they need to be concerned about.
Yeah, that's scary. I know in the Indio courthouse here, they going in with a couple attorneys last week, which is the way I got in with COVID. They made the attorneys take their belts off because someone had put a razor in their belt and cut somebody in one of the trials. So it depends on the institution, jurisdiction's an issue. And I mean, it just depends. But I most of the time when it comes to a gun, even if they have a concealed carry permit and they're an attorney or whatever, they're worried about someone else getting the gun, not the person who is going to use the gun. That's why in the jails that the officers don't have guns, because the inmates can get them, So yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Again, along with the Second Amendment type things, it's perfectly fine for people to carry weapons if they're licensed to. But you got to remember, it's not that I've never even heard of somebody who very rarely. I guess I have maybe rarely, but most of the time, it's not a person who's licensed to carry that commits a crime. Right. It is very, very, very rarely. And if it is, it's something along the lines of, was they justified to shoot or not? But those are not the people I'm concerned about. I'm concerned about the person, like you said, getting that hold of their gun That's who I'm scared of. The people that
Yeah,
are licensed to carry, the vast majority of the time, they're the safest people in the world because most of them do understand that there's things you have to abide by. This is why I think that citizens with firearms usually are more responsible than the police for some reason. Police are far more likely to discharge a weapon than it is a civilian that is with a concealed weapons permit. And I don't know why that is. But I guess I probably do, only for the fact that if you have to argue that they're in more heated situations more often, right? So likelihood of them drawing their weapon and firing is going to be far more than a civilian to draw their weapon because you're a CCP carrier. You're not police. Your job is not there to police anything. It's there for protection, right?
And by the way, the other thing that I heard you said was on the case of the mayor was that if she has a gun in her purse and it's unloaded, that's a
irrelevant.
different set.
No.
Then
Oh,
they said that's a different set than that different level of threat.
I fully disagree with that. A gun, anybody who has a weapons permit knows this. A gun is always treated as loaded, period. Always treated gun as loaded.
I understand that, but that was part of the thing was whether or not she had an intent to shoot.
No, it's because somebody else carried the bullets in, right? I mean, I don't understand at all.
Well, that's a good point. But also when you're pulled over, I know that it's supposed to be like in the dash and then the bullets have to be in the trunk or something like a pot.
They have to be. They can't be in the same compartment. But like I went on base one time, and I used to do shooting, and people knew that I had a concealed weapons permit. There's an armory, but I guess there was an expended shell or something that they found on a routine search because we get routine search. Now, granted, there's no threat with a used shell. I mean, obviously, there's no threat to be had there. Or maybe it was my holster. I don't remember it was a holster. But there's no gun and there's no ammo, okay? But that was enough for them to do a thorough search of the vehicle to see if they could find anything. Now, they didn't, and I still got chastised a little bit, nothing formal.
Yep.
But saying, hey, look, you need to be more careful. You shouldn't even bring, even a holster in or something like that. But yeah, can you imagine if I actually had the gun without bullets? I could have been screwed. And yes, I'm very careful, and I always made sure I didn't have my weapon on me when I came back on base, when I lived off base, right? Or weapons I had at the time.
We were still, the evidence was that she did not carry it in her purse loaded, but still we had.
I don't think that should make a difference.
And security writing the pounce on her should she reach for her purse.
Yeah. Well, I still don't think it should make a difference.
It should, yeah, if she's let in there. My God. Crazy.
Yeah. And by the way, even if a gun's unloaded, it's still intimidating if somebody pulls out a gun and threatens people with it.
I know, right?
You're not going to say, I think I remember that gun was unloaded when she came in. No, you're not going to bother with that. You're not going to think that. And again, there are other ways to sneak bullets in.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, wait. Can I tell you guys a comment that was hilarious? It was some commenter on CNN who said he needs to be, when speaking about Trump, he needs to be restrained in a constitutional straitjacket. And I'm like, that's gonna be my new
I agree with that.
Like bumper sticker. I think that's so damn true.
Well, he doesn't think the laws of the land apply to him, right? He just doesn't.
Or that he can negotiate with reality.
Yeah, that's true. Like his opinions and views somehow change reality.
He needs to be restrained. He's a child. He cannot make good decisions. And even though there's just a couple days left, it's still. That's why I'm glad that they're going through with this, regardless of how ridiculous it seems to the right. I just don't care.
So, what do you think he's going to do after January or on January 20th and after?
That's a great question. What do you guys think?
What do you think?
Drag him out by his cloth?
No, he's going to go on. He's going to go out on his own accord. Marine One, head held low, dejected, depressed. He has got no fight in him. And what good would it do?
He'll disappear for a while, probably, right?
I think he's going to go out defiant. He's going to go out, saying it is stolen and continue that. But the question is, my various political advisor commenters I listen to, or advisors, are telling me he's going to skip town. I think he's going to stay in the U.S.
Yeah, I do too.
For fear of prosecution?
No, because his model includes being sued and paying his lawyers to keep him out of court. One of the things, again, it was relayed to me by somebody who knows him uh, um, from direct business, is that he has a fear of courtrooms and depositions. They said something happened in his younger days where it taught him you don't want to go anywhere near a court, you don't want to be even under a deposition, and he routinely pays his lawyers a bonus if he does not have to, if they can sell out of court and doesn't have to testify.
Interesting for someone who files so many lawsuits. Yeah.
Well, and in fact,
Sure,
it's part of
subtle.
his business model is to handle the lawsuits as he pulls out. Because again, his business model really is that he'll come up with some promotional idea to stick his name on. He'll sink some money into, let's say, $100 million in some idea, the greatest thing since sliced bread, Trump,
Mhm.
Trump car, let's say, and he gets to say Trump car is going to be the greatest. It gets a bunch of other people. Sorry, Travis, I shouldn't use your trademark. Trump will say this is a great car, and get other people to invest in it as well, because they want to be part of the action. And what he waits is
Oh, yeah.
that
Right.
until there's about 140 to $160 million of additional investments in there. Because what he starts doing then, when they've doubled, more than doubled his investment, he starts pulling money out to pay himself off. And he will end up pulling out his original investment plus some, plus interest. And if the business venture, if Trump cars win and makes lots of money, he gets a chunk of change. If it fails, it's the other sucker's fault, right? And in fact, he basically pulls a rug when it really starts failing. He pulls a rug out of it. He expects to be sued and has money set aside to handle court cases.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. This is a really good comment by Original Nilsson, I think it is. I
Mhm.
don't think his name will help his businesses anymore. What do you guys
You're
think?
right.
I agree.
Great point. Yeah.
But in the past, the Trump name had value,
It
and
did.
people put money into a golf course, a winery, a
Right.
college, cooking utensils, other things like that. That they're sort of the Trump brand
Sure.
was sort of his thing, and he would. So in some ways, he's very shrewd in that he would take the debt he has and extract from it once other people invest enough to recover from that, plus a profit, plus money for legal fees.
Yeah.
Then be sued, and then he
Yeah,
handles
Joe
the
was
lawyers.
right.
Say, here's money, you take care of it. Here's a
Yeah.
bonus if I don't have to testify, and it goes on to the next thing,
Yep.
right?
You're right. Mm-hmm.
And so this
Yep.
this presidential thing was one of his little things he put money into, and he's gotten a pretty good profit. I think it'll come out of being president.
Okay, but how much do you think in the long run that he will probably end up having a significant financial impairment, especially through civil litigations?
I think he's got a big problem
Oh,
because his
boy.
bankers have pulled away. I mean, Deutsche Bank was one of his underwriters has said, they've cut ties and said we're no longer doing business with you.
So you don't think he's been able to even get financing?
I think he's gonna have trouble getting financing,
He's broke.
especially as the indictments over stuff in New York come to play. Right? Because again,
it's
the notion was for purposes of taxes, he'd say this property is crap and it's only a little value, so I don't have to little taxes. But for the purpose of loan collateral, he would take the same thing and inflate it to high heavens, right?
Yeah.
That's malfeasance. That's fraud.
The reason he wants to
And
stay in office, I think. One of the reasons.
and so he's got some banking problems that he has to try to address, be able to get that kind of credit. Now, people say, well, he's got this $400 million debt. Well, people in that kind of financing always, he wouldn't sit around $400 million in cash doing
Yeah,
nothing,
that's his
right?
leverage debt. That was short term. That was already
Yeah.
known. We already discussed that before, actually. But I think you're right that a lot of his more bigger bank account thing, people that have loaning him money, I think a lot of them, I mean, they're going to be a little more hesitant to
They're
you
going to
know,
be really hesitant.
and especially after
And
Melania files for divorce on the 21st this month.
I totally believe that that's going to happen. And if it
I think she will
doesn't,
eventually
they'll-
too. I think she has a $50 to $65 million post up supposedly. Again, veracity on that is debatable,
he's going
but
to liquidate a lot of things because the guy's in the negative. But
can you imagine losing everything, including, you lost the presidency, you've been impeached twice, you have no, literally no
Yeah.
legacy to speak of. Your wife leaves you. I mean,
isn't it amazing? It's like watching karma in real time. I love it. I think it's amazing.
yes. We
But-
like Karma,
but no,
right? Karma's good.
I don't necessarily like her because I've had my own, but that's it's it's a real thing. But I think the wife is probably going to divorce him, and I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know if he's going to go to Europe or what he's going to do, and that's probably
I
why
think
he's trying to
she'll continue to be estranged, and I think she will. But
continue right.
when his financial abilities are curtailed because of indictments and because the banks don't want to do anything to do with him,
Yes.
then it's going to impact his income, right? Because he's got his leveraging is really kind of the shell game of saying there's the next thing to do, the next thing to do, the next thing to do. For example, he again, it was reported he was enraged that the golf confederation said that they were not going to hold one of their masters at Trump golf course. They basically removed that 2022
PGA
venue,
West,
right? That would have netted him a lot of money to have a big golf course like that going to one of his, having be part of his master circuit.
Yeah.
He lost that, right? And he had planned on and invested lots of money to recoup the profits from that thing, and he's failing on that. So his reputation is going to be impacted. If he were to leave the country, I think it would be because he's financially trying to, separate himself.
Or fear that he might be, criminally prosecuted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting few. It's going to be an interesting time. Yeah.
You're right. As I say, the PGA told Trump to go get. I mean, they didn't just pull out. They just said, "Don't even bother calling."
Yeah. They're golfing. Nobody wants to golf with him either. He's a pariah, and I think what's going to be really interesting is going to be the 21st. What's going to happen? I mean, can you imagine if he had an indictment on the 21st, or he had a civil proceedings or something? Because I mean. I am convinced of this. He's going to have charges, whether it be criminal or civil or something, and I think he's fearful of that.
I really think that's true.
Now, I don't know if it's going to be the 21st, but I mean,
it's so weird because there's so many things that happen on a daily. I've even forgotten about the phone call where he's threatening this guy. Hey, find the votes.
I think that's coercion.
But that's part of that's part of the article listed in part of the article's impeachment. We said, and there's other things coming forward.
High crimes.
High crimes.
It's that again, that expression, high crimes and misdemeanors, basically saying big and small crimes, not just big things. But another thing about it is that with this threat of violence, it is less likely that Trump is going to hold a sort of a mock inauguration, right? That one of the things that they'd been thought he was going to try to do was to get permits to stage a rally in Washington, D.C., for to announce his running for president.
Wait, as an independent? Oh, and by the way, just so people do know, high crime. The term "high" and high crimes has to do with the fact that you're in a political office that have special entitlements that the average person, like us slobs, don't have.
The bar is higher.
Yeah, so the bar is much higher when they're talking about high crimes. They're talking about the bar being much higher because they have special duties and responsibilities as a political official.
Yeah. By the way, I have a question for folks. So I've been drinking this wonderful, I had this wonderful wine here.
Is that a cab?
Pinot Noir.
Pinot Noir.
Anderson Valley in California of the Paso Brown. And so I had my glass there, so I can move on to a really nice port. I can move on to actually a rum from I think this rum is actually from.
Okay, you're going the other way. You're going wine to rum. I'm going
I
vodka.
could go to
to-
gin-
I
I
was
could
having
go to
coffee and a
wine,
little bit of brandy,
gin,
but just,
or
Oh, God.
a straight a rye, right? From
well, I'm hoping this.
Cheers, buddy.
Heather,
Cheers.
Heather, her husband, and
whiskey.
a friend's coming down to visit me on Saturday. We're going to be having some wine too, and
Yep.
I want
Sure,
to.
we're gonna go to
or port.
Port,
fun.
port's good. But I want to. I don't know if you ever had, Heather, a Riesling that has been aged in a brandy oak barrel.
Oh yes.
Oh,
Oh,
oh, it's. I mean, literally, when this was like a year ago, I took my friend. We hung out and we went to a winery, and when I had that Riesling, I got that was like this is what actually wine tastes like, you know. This is what wine should be. It was amazing. Brittany, I took out there. That's who it was.
Yeah. So
From
the
YouTube,
port is,
yeah.
is sweet. Rum is Jamaican rum is classic stuff. Japanese gin or a non-chilled filtered whiskey from
oh, whiskey. I'm always for whiskey.
a rye whiskey. This
Hmm.
is
Yes.
Kentucky.
Nice.
That's
A
my
Kentucky
favorite.
whiskey. Is that what you were
I'll
going
take
on?
any of it.
Yeah, wine's wine. No, I mean wine's wine, not
I'm not
wine. I could tell you there are different qualities of wine for certain because some of the stuff that I have had, very nasty aftertaste. I don't like the fact it's just
Oh, yeah,
not.
yeah,
You can tell a cheap wine, and when I had that actual Riesling, I was like, man, this is stellar. This is amazing
Yeah,
stuff.
by the way, I think you're referring to a wine that was called a Riesling.
Riesling, is that what it is? Riesling? Oh, it's
Deutsch.
brilliant. Riesling.
Anyway, yes. So yes, Steve. At some point, again, this was interrupted by the COVIDia. We we're out of COVIDia, not surrounded by COVIDians. You and I will have dinner, and I'm going to treat you to a place that has.
I love that idea.
Wine, decent wine. It'll be a dinner with wine pairings.
What part of California are you in? Or should I not? ask
Somewhere in the
that?
state.
Steve?
Oh, you're in California somewhere. Okay.
Some,
got it.
he's somewhere.
I'm up in the Pacific Northwest, so I'd have to travel a lot.
Yeah, he knows where I live. But if we, but wait, are you one of those? Do I have to like spit out the wine because I don't do that? I drink.
Yeah,
No, I don't
wine tasting.
This is not a wine tasting.
Good, because I drink it.
This would be like a 7-course meal where we would have little wines with each course.
Yeah,
right?
little wine with each course like pairs with the course.
Yeah, and
I love that.
and the plates are not huge.
Yes,
Type of thing.
right. No, yeah, that sounds
Take
good.
you.
Um,
Give you the sort of the variety of stuff. That's because Steve needs to be taken care of.
I do. But like, well, that's
Back
well,
around
that's
too.
look. We've all been cooped up, and this is why Heather and her husband and a friend are like, hey, let's all hang out, in Steve's area and go have some wine. I'm like, oh, okay, twist my arm. Yeah, okay. Godless.
All right.
Right.
Please go ahead.
Godless cover 5 pounds. Let's remember that this is a guy who dragged the owners of a football league into a lawsuit because he was pissy that the NFL wouldn't let him in.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Great point.
yeah, that's
Exactly.
true.
Well,
Mhm.
well pointed. This sort of
The arrogance.
certainly is hair triggered in his lawsuit stuff.
Yeah.
So because of Heather's suggestion, I am starting with this old Overholt. It's a it's a whiskey there.
Mhm.
There you go.
Yeah, damn, you're going for straight rye
Wait,
whiskey, man. That's like
Let me see where the fill line is. Let me see how much
years
you've hit
old.
that.
It is actually right here.
That a boy. That a boy.
straight
Good.
rye
Right here.
whiskey. He ain't messing around,
right
man.
There we go. There we go. See.
All right, cheers. I
Yeah, all
love
right.
it. Good one. That's my favorite.
The glass I have is a glass that was forged at Edmondson Scott, so it's one of the South Pole glasses. So
That is really cool. I love it. All right, cheers.
cheers.
Steve, do you have a drink?
I don't, but I could get one real quick. I could
Okay,
pretend, but I'm empty. Oh shit! I have a little. I did have a little coffee in there.
Take it
Yes,
anywhere.
we saw that on air.
Heather and Landon made me wet myself.
I'm going nowhere with you.
I thought it was empty. I thought I polished it off, but I still a little bit left in there.
If you ask Joe,
Oh.
I'm the
I
one
mean,
who.
I don't. By the way, I don't chug my wine or my.
No, I
spirit.
don't. I'm not feeling like drinky, but
Fact.
right now. But
Hey, Steve, I'm the one who will spill on myself. Trust me. I'm a klutz. I will fall.
oh, I'm looking
Right,
forward. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. From everything I've heard, you're a fun drunk, so that's cool.
I am pretty fun. I don't get
So-
nasty.
Colorado Biker says sushi isn't about fish, my friend. That's true. I mean, sushi is also about presentation. It's about the sake. It's about the wasabi, the ginger, and the ambiance of the place, as well as the fish.
Yeah. As long as it's fresh.
Yeah.
So
now,
different.
Chesh, I do have beer downstairs, but this
Oh,
also tonight is it's a date night for my brother and sister-in-law, so I'm letting them do their thing.
Aw.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I just broke in the good stuff, but I was kind of about to end this. It is 8 o'clock. We've gone
I
on for
know.
2 hours, so
So let's
well, he had a
summarize
shot at
again.
least of it, but
We had the House of Representatives meet, and a majority voted to impeach the president. They will then designate the House managers, who will then carry the document over to the Senate. That may actually happen after the 20th. They may actually wait that long, and and then you can have a trial even after the president's out of office.
correct.
That while the president's impeached, many believe that he would not be able to pardon himself or things.
Yeah, and I don't think
related
you can either. I think it makes no sense to be able to pardon yourself because you're acting as your own judge and
What
jury.
about his children, guys? What about his children? He's talking about doing that.
And
They
so
haven't
we'll
even
see
been
that thing.
convicted.
Even
The
still,
19th
it doesn't preclude them from being charged on the local level.
The
That's
19th
true.
is the last day that McConnell will be leader, and so they will push forward as many judicial appointments, declarations about treaty actions, certifications of this country being terrorist propaganda.
That's a good point, though, real quick.
Good point.
Because of that, do you think there might be some people out there in the Congress that are saying, "Hey, look, if you're a senator and a Republican, and you're not already one of the 10, and you do vote to convict, we're more likely to like, not even object to any. I mean, I guess they have really no say for the appointments, but somehow give them some political considerations or not object to anything. Do you think there's some kind of tit for tat going on of something that they can say, look, you vote to convict? Because I think they want him convicted. I mean, I think
they're always doing that.
I think so as well. I don't know what it would be.
Behind
But
the scenes, there are two members of
They're okay.
Congress that if they didn't have an impeachment and a trial, the two senators that just sit and say, "Would you like to censure this?"
yeah, but
jerk
censor's
squad
not
and
good
that jerk
enough
squad?"
here.
And so they're going to say, "Okay, in return for not censuring, we'll go and vote to convict."
Yeah, because
And
I
this
don't
is-
think censor's strong. Time maybe they could have censored, and I think that Bill Clinton could have been censored, but
censoring
Yeah.
a member of Congress can be, because it can strip them of their seniority
Yeah.
and remove them all their positions.
you
I think
can't be.
it's-
If I'm correct, if you've been censored in Congress, you're not going to be in charge of any kind of committee.
Yes. Until
So-
you lose your power, right?
Yeah.
And so, but on the other hand as well, the thing that's probably happening behind the scenes is they're saying, who are the 17 Republicans who are going to vote to convict? And a number of them will be saying, hey, I want to be able to run for president or be in line for possible vice president. So I need somebody to go and convict the guy. Now, the other question is, and this is another question is, in order to prevent him from holding office, is that a separate vote that they need only a majority on?
Well,
That's another question.
it's a separate. In order for him to be precluded from ever holding office again, it's a separate vote, but they only need a simple majority.
Yep. So that's going to happen there going forward. There are threats for people that have threatened are all across the country. So if you want to keep it safe, don't go anywhere near federal or state buildings. Don't go anywhere near capitals, and avoid places where they've been protests before.
Yeah.
And I think you will be able to keep relatively safe. And the authorities are going through mountains of digital evidence and camera footage, getting these people forward. I do not recommend you going out and trying to sleuth it yourself. Let the professional do that. Stay away from those areas and let the
Yeah.
professional do their job. It's happening. Don't expect that everyone brought on charges is guilty. Don't expect everyone that brought on charges will actually be prosecuted or even found guilty. That's going to be another thing. And then expect blowback as people who feel this messianic zeal to go in and get revenge are going
Yeah.
to try and do more and more things, sadly.
Hmm. Good advice. Good advice.
I
By the way, another thing to know is if you do come across a Trump person and you're a anti-Trump person, don't be an ass. Give that person is probably feeling
That's a
pretty
lot to
low
ask.
right now, right? Give them a little bit of space, right? They're going to be pretty unhappy. You don't have to go. It is not your job to make the person you know who's a Trump supporter feel miserable. That's not helpful.
Right, you're not going to change their mind anyway. I try to
Yeah.
remember
no,
that
I
online.
look.
You know,
I
you're
can't.
not going to change their mind.
You,
Yeah.
you have you, if you're going to change the mind of somebody, you have flat earthers, you have young Earth creationism, and then you have Trumpsters. So you're more likely to change the mind of a young Earth creationist because I've done it, and I've changed the mind of a flat earther. I have not yet changed the mind of a Trumpster.
A lot
so
of times they're the
probably,
same. Flat
Oh,
earthers and Trumpers.
that might be true.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Yeah, there's a
But just
commonality there.
Do they
My sister.
deserve what's happened to Trump and so forth? Yes, but you're not the instrument of that dish, right?
Right.
Try and be a decent human being. Try to treat them like you would want to be treated.
Oh,
You're a
I
better
don't have a problem with that, but I
person
still mock. Look, I'm okay with mocking people, that have such ridiculous beliefs. Now, the thing with Trumpism, though, there is a lot of subjectivity there. But when they start saying things that are objectively false, objective things are open to mockery for me. So not so much. I don't go into the whole look. You have some strange beliefs. I'm going to mock you. Yeah, I get that. I understand it. Look, Scientology is bizarre, and there are things that I can understand, maybe deserving some mockery. But for the most part, I try to only mock things that I can see for myself are factually, objectively wrong, right? I mean, again, the whole like 0.99 repeating. If you don't believe that, I'm going to mock you as being mathematically illiterate. I'm sorry, it's just the way it is because there's an objective standard to be had there, right? But when it comes to Trumpism, a lot of them is subjective. But when they say something that is just blatantly false, like if somebody says, "Hey, look, Trump has not been convicted. Trump has not been impeached twice." That's just factually incorrect, right?
Yeah. So you can help. And I say, if you are anti-Trump and you know pro-Trump people, you could help by not pouring fuel on the fire.
Yeah. Well, especially the next week, there's no reason to, right? Again, I don't want any harm to come to anybody. I certainly don't want these people going out and doing any more damage. I want them to all stay at home. That's what I want to see.
Yes.
Yeah. Good advice.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up. Landon's always a pleasure. Heather, you want to promote your channel really quick or anything?
Yes, please.
Sure. It's Karma. Well, it's Karma Valley. And yeah, if you guys want to come subscribe, I'd love that. I'm working on some videos, so
He does video stuff. And we'll document our excursion on Saturday. We'll obviously take certain precautions but it is an outdoor thing, so it's not like we're going to be indoor and so stuff like that.
following the rules.
But yeah, we got to get out. I mean, you got to every so often, and so we are going to take appropriate measures. But I want to have some wine or have some friends over, and it's going to be fun. So we'll keep you guys posted on that. Sounds good?
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right.
Excellent. Sounds good on that. And look forward to say if I can plug.
Oh yeah.
The point of plugging shows.
Yes. Yeah. Plug and chug.
So I would like to certainly check out Milwaukee Atheists. Check out the Ben podcast. Check out Pemmonk Show. If you want,
And I haven't been on the bin
really
yet.
politically incorrect Aussie humor. Check out the Butsman in his bit of humor. But also, there's also David and Ansgar have a number of shows. Their Gothic Public Theater and their placeholder show that are worth checking out as well. So there are some good stuff out there that can inform and entertain you. And what I would ask you is if you like what you see, try giving it a thumbs up, try even subscribing, maybe even throwing a little bit into the tip jar, because if you support people that do have content that please you, that enrich you, that you learn something, then giving a little tip is always appreciated, and it
Always.
helps them know I want more good stuff.
Yeah.
I second that wholeheartedly.
Great stuff.
And by the
I
way,
love it.
Steve has a show too that you should probably check
I got a
out.
couple.
I know.
I got a
You have a
couple
of
actually.
channels. And you have a channel that you only
I
have
even got a
5% of.
mug from one of them. Look at that. Product placement. ATA. Great to argue. And by the way, today's episode was great. If you haven't checked it out, it was on hell, concept of hell, and it was really, really good. I thought.
And Heather, your show, you talk about what
Well,
you
it's
do. For
Karma
your
Valley.
show?
It's super new, but trying to get that stuff out. I just appreciate you guys having me and putting up with me, because sometimes I can, be a lot. But thank you. It was
Well,
nice
what kind
to
of
see you
show
guys
is it?
again.
What would someone?
That's a really good question. It started out
That is a
as,
good question. What the hell you do, Heather?
listen, it was a place to hang out and talk shit about KJ, okay? And I don't really want to be known for that. So it's true crime. There are a lot of things that I have 4 videos that haven't been edited, but it's been the holidays, and I have a lot of good stuff. Yeah. A lot
There
of
you
good
go.
stuff.
Check out her stuff, and I assume it'll be in the show notes.
The phrasing. Check out her stuff.
Just go there.
Whatever
Go there and
works.
find out. Hit the subscribe button.
All right, guys. I'm going to end this. This was entertaining. Just to let you guys know, I think tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. I will be on the JP podcast, JB Truth podcast, on his channel, and we're going to be talking about my favorite subject, atheism and agnosticism. Yay!
Awesome.
Awesome.
Yeah, as I say, I like because I get to say, when people ask me, are you an atheist? I say, well, if you go by logic and reason, see the diagram I helped Steve.
I call it. By the way, I've been referring to it as the McRae-Landon Venn diagram. So
excellent.
yeah, I've obviously given. Yeah.
McRae-Landon
So
Venn diagram that works, and or McRae-Noll maybe the way to do it if you're doing.
Oh yeah, I guess it would be Korean. No, I'll have to change that. Yeah, McRae-Noll diagram.
Anyway, if you go by that thing, I'm an agnostic. If you use vernacular, then depends on what vernacular you're using.
Which is fine. See, he understands the terms.
Atheist. Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, oh, gods are BS. But yeah, no, it's so funny because I'll show the Venn diagram and I'll show like the logic, and I'll leave you guys with this. I had a guy, I shit you not, on my WASP argument, which is still unassailed. I'm sorry, it has been unassailed, and I even put it on Twitter. If you know somebody who's an expert in this field that thinks it's assailed, if you know one of them and you're willing to talk to me, let me know. Not one person has said, and not one person has responded they know somebody. I mean, a couple of them have voted yes, but I was like, well, how can you vote yes and not tell me who they are? That's not, again, that's going to be discounted. So it has never been assailed. But I had one person argue, and I don't know if you saw this, Landon, because it's going to blow your mind on the state of new atheism. But somebody actually objected to my WASP argument merely because it started out with the word if. So they argued, their complaint was there was a conditional implication, which is the basis behind every modus tollens and every modus ponens argument ever devised as a conditional implication.
How do you not put?
I don't. I'm not even exaggerating to you, dude. That was their objection, and I'm like, where do you go from there, though? When you're dealing with somebody who is that incompetent to object to a conditional implication for a P if P there then Q, which is a foundational thing in logic, I don't even know how to address that. It's so bad. So yeah, Heather's just going, yeah, just whatever he says. I agree with them.
They're not saying assuming that or granted that, but they're not. But how do you? Yeah,
I told you it was going to blow your mind because again, I mean, it's just one of those.
He does have a good laugh.
I know, because he's legit. He's like, what? That's how bad it is. It's horrific. Anyways, all right.